It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 145. Moonbase.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction describe it. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your classic tri-weekly Doctor Who review podcast. Scratch it, reverse it. I am talking into my phone that's held up on a tripod. Dan, how are you today?
I was doing all right until we started this mess.
This is the
Please check out on the show page on the website, and you'll see some snapshots of Eric setting up a tripod so he can record on his phone. Folks, we have done 144 numbered episodes plus a few bonuses, and every time we start recording, it's like the first time.
It's the car is falling apart at this point. I have taped everything together. My microphone is just not working.
Oh, man.
None of the drivers, GarageBand, no track selected.
Everything is working beautifully. But anyway, we're not here to hear about us complain about audio.
Well, this
setups.
is the way to go out, like a wounded beast. Wandering
Not with
through
a
the
bang,
woods.
but a whimper. That's us.
Yes, this is, yes.
Yes. Here it comes.
This is T.S. Eliot's favorite podcast about 1970s television series for children.
This one's 60s.
60s in this case. 60s, 70s, 80s.
This
the
is
whole
the second
gambit.
favorite. Hey, Eric.
Yes? Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing
No, we know why we're doing this. We're doing this. We're supposed to be done.
We were.
We were done. Like, we
were
did
outta
our
here.
time. We served our thing. We did it in the 30 days. We met all of the requirements
Eric
of
and
the
I
Brewster's
were
Millions.
hanging out on a beach, drinking pina coladas. We thought we were out of the life. And then all of a sudden, we got a message.
We were sleeping with cocktail waitresses, two at a time. We got roped back in. We thought we were done. We got the Moonbase sent to us by carrier pigeon from a very nice listener.
Thank you again,
who
carrier
we
pigeon
should
listener.
properly shout out again. Same listener that gave us the.
I don't remember if we actually said our listener's name.
What was the other one?
For the sake of.
We did say.
Oh, okay. Then Alex, Alex, thank you so much again for this. It worked out beautifully.
We didn't.
So.
We left out Alex's last name.
That's right. Alex, who helped us with a perfectly legitimate copy of The 10th Planet. Also, a perfectly legitimate copy of The Moonbase, which is today's episode.
Yes.
What we did, we just went over to Alex's house and we sat there and we watched it together.
Yeah.
It wasn't
and it was weird because there was just Cybermen merchandise everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, because they were both Cybermen episodes.
Cybermen's.
Dan, this is very weird. I'm getting very uncomfortable because, like, I get claustrophobic anyway, and I'm near this tripod, and I keep looking, and it's, like, looming over me. It's just like a reminder of my own failures.
Yep.
It's
a perfect metaphor.
So I don't know how it sounds. I don't know how it's going to sound. Like, am I supposed to be angling my face towards it? Nobody knows. Dan, I went to see Suspiria, the 1977 Dario Argento film, in 4K.
Whoa.
Just this past weekend, midnight show. I'm very tired all the time, so that was hard.
Still tired.
That was definitely hard. Have you ever seen Suspiria, Dan?
Nope.
Oh my God, it's a beautiful masterpiece. It is such a great. Well, to give you some background, it is a horror film. It's part of the that run of Italian horror films.
Yes.
Giallos is sort of that subgenre. Dario Argento. It's one of the most beautiful films you've ever seen. I had seen it. Yes, I had seen it on VHS in high school, and then I think I had seen it years later. But seeing it in 4K on this movie screen, I was seeing details that I have never seen before.
Was it shot in like a
colors
really wide
are
aspect ratio, like a CinemaScope or a
really wide, and every part of the frame he's working with, the colors are so vibrant and interesting. And you could see right away, like, I don't know for a fact if Lynch was influenced by him, but you can see so much of that. There's, like, scenes with blue drapes and very weird. And he's a very, like, intuitive, like, dream logic type film director. With his other work as well. It was so good, but what was not good are people. Like, if I just need to get rid of people, like, it's a great theater, it was fun to see it, I went with a friend, and behind me there was just, like, these dudes just laughing at the wrong parts, and just were clearly high or drunk or whatever. And then there was a guy in front of us that was, like, a big fella, it's a big guy, and then my friend was like, something's going on with that guy. And we look over, and he was asleep, and kind of like, and then would just start twitching, and then fall back asleep, and then he'd go, and then just start coughing. And I realized I have been contaminated. Clearly, this is patient 0 on the next strain, which is going to be a vicious. So if I start to break down, like my body starts to break down, or if I start like knocking things over, call the police.
Tell my wife
have
and
me
kids
put
I
down.
love them and put me down.
Next month, so every month they're doing this. Last month was Evil Dead 2.
Nice.
This month was Suspiria. You know what next month is?
No, I don't.
Eraserhead.
Ooh.
So I can see Eraserhead
Oh,
on the big screen, and supposedly they're going to play some of the Lynch shorts. It's very exciting.
I've never seen.
Do we have to talk about Doctor Who?
I've never seen Eraserhead.
Oh, you should watch it.
I know.
It's on,
and I loved it. I've just never.
That's not. You don't need to be ashamed of that,
No,
man.
there's so
a lot
many,
of people haven't.
There's so many other things you should be ashamed about. Not that.
It's on HBO Max.
Is it?
For
Oh,
anyone.
okay. I should just watch
It has been. I don't know if it still is, but I'm pretty sure.
I'll just
Because it's part of their Criterion collection, and they have some Criterion movies, but not all.
Gotta watch
but
it while it's still HBO Max before it turns into Max, and then we just can't.
I gotta say,
it.
go find your way to see Suspiria.
Okay.
It will change it. And like you think about 1977, and you can see like an influence on The Shining, and like obviously Kubrick's shooting a certain way, and he always has. But they have to be watching what was going on with Dario. And Mario Bava, if you want to go earlier than that, his work is great. So why don't we turn this into a Giallo podcast where we go through and we watch the... no, we're here to talk about something else.
So
Dan,
speaking of like beautiful direction and color choices and dream logic.
Yes.
Let's talk about a classic Doctor Who episode. The
All right, we can jump right into
Let's
it.
do it.
We
Let's
can
just-
jump
let's
right
dive
into
in.
Moonbase.
Hit that button.
Let's do it.
Just as I thought. A large neurotropic virus.
Like the space plague.
No. It's a large infective agent that only attacks the nerves. That's why the patients have got these lines on their faces and their hands. It follows the course of the nerves under the skin.
That's all very well, but how did it get in here?
Oh, it is the Cybermen. I believe they have deliberately infected the base.
My men have searched every square inch of the base. There's no space to hide a cat, let alone a Cyberman. Anyhow, how did they get in?
One moment.
What is it?
You say you searched all the base.
Yes, what of it?
Every nook and cranny.
Yes,
No chance of anyone hiding anywhere.
none whatever.
Did your men search in here?
Well,
Did they?
there were always people in here, so they probably...
Did they search in here? No.
This is the Moonbase. Dan, this is the Moonbase. You know what? You know that? It's the 6th serial of the 4th season, lucky number 4, from science fiction show Doctor Who. This is a 4-parter, but we only get 2 parts. And you know what? I'll talk about that a little bit later. It's a big kick in the teeth. But fine. Half of it's animated. In it, Patrick Troughton, the 2nd Doctor, his 3 brand new friends, or maybe not brand new, one of them's new, newish, Jamie, and you've got Ben and Polly, and they're trying to go to Mars for some reason, but they end up on the moon, where there's a bunch of scientists, and they're at the moon base, and they're controlling the weather with their gravitron weapon people can grow crops, something like that. And then the Cybermen have decided to destroy the Earth for unknown reasons. And, some excitement ensues. This was written by Kit Pedler, unfortunately. And no, not unfortunately. Nothing against Kit Pedler as a writer. I just keep always thinking that it is a crime of a Kit Pedler. Can't get that's on me, right? That's not his fault. That's on me and my childish brain. And this was directed by Morris Barry of the Barrytown Morrises. Dan, what did you think of the Moonbase? That was a lot to get out of me.
I'm exhausted just listening to it.
I'm very tired of even saying it.
Eric, this is the second Cyberman story that we watched in a row of this era. Oh, yeah. Eric's just, you guys, you can't see. He's done. He's chillaxing now. Full on early 2000s chillaxing. Eric, this was the second Cyberman story that we watched in a row of the old era. So I think is this the second appearance of the Cybermen?
It is the second appearance, and we just watched their first appearance, and they changed. They changed.
Referenced
the costume design changes.
Reference in the story that the Cybermen did exist, but they were destroyed ages ago, which is about 84 years ago, I think. So this is 2070 that we're starting this episode, and 10th Planet was 1986. So yeah, they've been gone for decades, which explains, hey, while they were out, they did a little glow up. They got a little redesign for their uniforms. Eric, what did I think of the story?
Yep.
Overall, I really enjoyed it.
What do you think?
I thought it was a good story. The animations we'll talk about separately, but the animations I thought were very good. I don't think they were distracting. I thought it was a really excellent use of the animation. I really enjoyed Troughton's performance in this. I thought he was just wonderful. And having three companions, I believe that it wasn't really necessarily intended to have three, so that's why Jamie's like in a bed for most of the story. But I think having the three companions, they were all great. The more I see Ben and Polly, I really like them a lot. It was claustrophobic. It was got that horror vibe going on, and it was also incredibly silly at times too. So it checked all the boxes for me. But that's enough about me, Eric. What did you think of this story?
I also liked it a lot. Huh. I thought this was a very good story. It's a very simple story, right? Like it's like there's not a lot of complexity to it. It's like they removed some of the more annoying tropes that you get. Like the Doctor and his companions land on the Moonbase, and they don't bother with that you're the enemy kind of thing, and then they got to earn the trust of the.
They only do
it's
a
like
little
almost
of that.
immediate.
Yeah,
they do a little of it, but it's almost immediate. Like, okay, we're all cool. Let's just figure out what the problem is and solve it. I liked Troughton a lot. Polly, it was more interesting this time than last time. They still make her make coffee. That happens again. I'm like, did they do that literally last time? Yes. So she's making coffee, although the coffee is part of the plot with the problems in the sugar. The sugar is the problem.
The tray is used to seal up the window. So, like, Polly, God bless her. But then I'll also say they made Ben go clear up coffee cups. So, it was equal opportunity.
Ben does his work. I don't love Ben maybe as much as you do, or not that you love Ben, but like he still doesn't seem like all that interesting to me, and even Polly for that matter. I'm glad she's got a little bit more things to do. She's not, just getting coffee. She's also told at one point that this is men's work. So there's a lot of that,
but then
which is fine.
Listen?
Jamie, no. Jamie hardly knew you. He's immediately hit in the head, off panel or off
panel,
scene.
says the comic book writer.
They're like bouncing. They have like that, and I would have. Here, let's talk about the animation.
Yes, go for it.
Animation is fine.
Oh, I thought it was more than fine. It's great.
I hate it. I don't hate the animation. The things that I like so much about Doctor Who is the set design and the acting and the way that they take these high concept ideas and how they use them and the materials that they had with the budgets that they have, and all of that charm is gone for me with the animation. And, I would have loved to have seen how dumb the bouncing was, and how they did Jamie flying away, and how does Jamie get hurt?
Did he land on his head? I don't know how he got knocked out.
But there's really, it's not like he's going to come crashing to the Earth, or the moon, because, you're floaty.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't know.
Clearly, like you said, it seemed like, they wrote this for 2 companions, and now they have to, because Jamie's a relatively new companion, so this is probably an older script or whatever, and they just had to put him in a bed, literally for 3 episodes.
It's really weird.
And just every once in a while is just waking up with his dream scares about, I'm in the bad place, or the unicorn man's coming. It's not the unicorn man,
it's the Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man's coming.
It was the Piper. But yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even the characters themselves aren't super interesting, save the main guy, the main scientist guy. At least he had some, he sort of had a personality. There's not a bit of lacking of personalities, I think, on the staff. I can't really, nobody jumped out as that guy was great, or that girl was great, or
the
whatever.
The only 2 that really had anything that meaningful to do was the French guy, who you could tell was French because he was wearing a neckerchief.
And he had that French bread sticking out of his back pocket.
He was smoking a cigarette the
beret.
entire time and hitting on all the ladies. And then there was the Dane, the Mad Dane Nils, who in the animation, I think they just put in David Hasselhoff. It was great. It's Nils looks enough like we got all these pictures of Hasselhoff that we've already drawn. Can we just shove it in?
I love it. And you come off from the same, the previous story that we did, this previous Cyberman story. I don't remember how many are in between, but it's the same kind of story, right? Mm-hmm. You have this international group of people. You had the Italian guy that was Tex Avering his eyes out with his pinups on the wall.
Yep.
And now you just switch it for, another international space station crew. But that was cool. Yep. And the business of them talking to Earth or whatever, and forcing them to do this gravitron because of the farmers and all of that stuff. That was sort of interesting stuff happening. And it was simple, it was I was I kind of liked it. I liked how they shot it. I liked how it was directed, and I liked the mystery aspect of it.
Yeah.
About the disease and not knowing what it was, and all of that was cool. Like you said, I thought Troughton was great in it. The hats were super dumb. When they have to wear those hats when they were in that computer room or the generator room or whatever.
That was to protect them from the sound waves or something.
I don't know. It was
really
weird.
Really fun.
It was a little wonky.
Yeah.
But I liked it. Overall, it was I actually really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed it a lot more than I enjoyed 10th Planet.
I did as well. I liked it a lot more too.
And I think that's because it was simpler. Maybe a little too simple in that I don't know what the Cybermen's plans are, other than humans are a threat, so we'll kill all humans. Was that
it was
all
very
of
much
it?
Let's just destroy the Earth thing, and I guess
Right.
that was because
That's fine.
I mean, I could read into it. Is it revenge for what happened in the 10th Planet? I don't know why they decided that.
Maybe it's not said really or elaborated on it, but it doesn't really matter either. I like the design. I like the new design of the Cybermen.
Yeah, me too.
I like seeing being able to see the
evolution,
the progression and the evolution of it, and it all makes sense because they're a technical based species.
Yep.
So
ever
the
increasing,
upgrading. All that stuff was cool. I don't know, it was fun. I liked the nerve ending disease and the animating
I thought that was really effective.
Sick people.
So when we first
cool.
see the infection, we see it in one of the animated episodes, and it has the black lines going through their skin. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. I wonder what it's like in the actual recorded version of it, because in the animation it looks awesome. Then we see it later in an existing recorded episode, and it looked really good there too. It was actually I'm sure it was a very simple effect, but however they did it was very effective. I really enjoyed that.
Right. So the ones that are missing are the first episode and the third episode. Right. So they must have put evens, whatever. But I found it was okay watching the animated version. But then once you watch the second version and you see the characters and you see the actors, it just comes to life.
Yes.
It comes to life. like especially like the main guy running the show, like I miss all of that. That's why, people have said like we can review all these other ones that are mostly animated, and I just don't. I feel like
half is the most.
Too much is lost.
That's it. I totally agree. Like, so I will say with some of the other animation, it feels a little bit like, and this is not to put down the animators. It is, I think, a choice in the way that they decided to do it, and obviously, I'm sure budget came into effect there. But it felt a little bit like drawings that are almost like paper dolls, and you just kind of move them along. It didn't.
Yeah, it's very stilted.
But this, I actually felt like was a lot more alive, for lack of a better term. Like there was some animation, and I wonder if they actually took existing footage from other episodes and just kind of almost rotoscoped it. But that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like there were certain scenes where the Cybermen are on the moon outside the base, and they're walking, and it felt like a rotoscope, like someone hand animated on top of existing film. So it felt much more alive. Now but then the actors' faces, and you miss all of that for a lot of it. So a lot of it felt like the traditional, like we've seen before, some of the other animation, but some of it just felt a lot more engaging. And I don't know what the difference is, what the technique was, but it was good. So yeah, I mean, if we can go through some of this briefly, but
run through it. It's so short.
It really
we can run through it.
It felt like a short and sweet one. I thought what is funny is the way that these earlier seasons of the show, they kind of carry over so much. So you get the cliffhanger at the very end of the story, then the next story picks up right after that. So in this one, we start and they're all in this, like, is Polly wearing, it looks like a mermaid's costume, and Ben's wearing like a wetsuit. It was like, what is going on?
Yeah, and because the previous one was Underwater Menace, right?
Menace.
Which I know people had wanted us to see, but I think that's also another one where it's mostly missing, right?
Yeah. But it was just fun to see, like, all right, so Ben's just a scuba enthusiast. Let's just go. So we start there. Jamie, I guess, had just been picked up 2 episodes prior to this with the Highlander, which we did not see.
No.
So we got them, the 3 of them together. They go out and start bouncing around. The sound effect when they're bouncing on the moon is just so silly. Especially, I don't remember if they actually did it so much when they're bouncing on the moon. At the end, when the Cybermen go floating off the surface of the moon, it's just so silly and undercuts the drama of it because they're just floating away. But super fun anyway. Just to see them kind of bouncing around and having fun was actually really cool. Again, no idea how Jamie got hurt, but because that happens off screen. It would have been
it's so silly. That whole thing is silly. Like they're all having fun, and then you just see him float overhead, and then nothing. And then all of a sudden you're like inside, and they're like, our friends got hurt, and now he's unconscious.
Right. So they bring them in and they
put him in the sick ward with all the other people that are infected.
Right.
Doesn't
just
seem
that
like the
one
smartest
room
move
where
if you don't know if it's an airborne transmitted disease.
Right.
And they're putting him in the sick bed, but,
and everyone just kind of hang out together and keep each other getting sick. They apparently went through decontamination coming through, so maybe they're all right, but who knows? So they're kind of put to work right away. I thought it was really fun. I'm guessing it came from the actual recorded version of it, but Ben goes to help one of the scientist working on the ship, Ralph, goes to the storeroom to help him get some stuff. So he's like, how can I be put to use? Okay, go find Ralph. He's in the storeroom. Ralph is there in a dimly lit storeroom looking at different materials, looking at his checklist, and there's one scene where like you see a shadow cross over him, and it's clear that it's the shadow of a Cyberman. I don't know if that was actually like shot that way, but I thought that was actually really effective. Like we knew there was a Cyberman from the beginning, but it was like, oh, this is really creepy. But it ended up turning out like, hey, Ben was coming in, but there actually was a Cyberman. It was like this misdirection that misdirected again. Poor Ralph. R.I.P. We miss you. We barely knew you.
We hardly knew him.
We hardly knew him.
Yeah, all of the it had a lot of great like tense moments and weird situations, and the people missing from the beds, and even the stuff with Polly, and the Cybermen are coming in for her, and all of that stuff was good. I thought it was a very well-paced story, too, the way they built all that stuff up. And seeing the Cybermen walking, towards that whole group of Cybermen walking on the moon, like, all of that stuff was really kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
I was down with it.
We do get to see the new Cybermen design pretty quickly in this story. Gunn is the big, like, disc piece on top of their head. It's a lot more streamlined. The face doesn't look so much.
And you don't have like the face. Yeah, you don't have like that human
sock puppety.
As much humanity sock puppet. Although that has its charm too. Like that's almost like, I don't want to say better, but like creepier in a way that they lost that bit of it. But I get why.
Yeah,
it's much more of a machine now than a guy in a like a member of Devo or something.
Right. It does feel updated and more, and it's trending towards what we later know as the Cyberman. But I kind of like this more than the current incarnation of the Cyberman, which feels just very robotic and bulky and militarized, and this just feels much, I don't know. Anyway, it's great. So let's see.
Yeah, so they get there, and then there's like, you talked about the necessity of cleanliness, and like the doctor's like, my TARDIS is plenty clean, and you find out about this virus that's going around. It's not killed their first doctor. It's
incapacitated.
None of the people are dead, right? They're all capacitated and sort of in a coma-like setting, and then the doctor is tasked with helping, and then he reveals that he is a medical doctor, but he learned it in the 1800s.
Yep.
And there's that funny scene with the doctor and Polly where she's sort of like trying to say maybe there's been some development since the 1800s, and he's sort of like, that whole scene was kind of funny. I enjoyed it, but
yeah, that was it was great.
We haven't really talked about the doctor being a doctor, although I'm sure it's come up before, like this whole idea of him studying the medicine in the 1800s was an interesting little
I like that as well.
gag.
I mean, it was funny. Yeah, like it was 1888 or whatever it was. But there, the doctor says, Polly says, listen, are you really a medical doctor? The doctor says, yes, I think I was once, Polly. I think I took a degree in Glasgow, 1888. So what I thought was interesting about this is we're still pretty early in the run of a new doctor. This is still a new thing to the story, that the doctor regenerates and has previous incarnations. I don't know, because we're not seeing this in order, obviously, and some of the things we have seen is a long time ago for us. So this is all speculation because I have the memory of a freaking gnat. But it almost feels like they're starting to hint at, well, if this doctor can regenerate into the second doctor, maybe there were previous ones before. So when he says, I think I was once,
right,
I wasn't reading it as like, oh, I've just had it was such a long time ago. To me, it reads, maybe this is from my vantage point.
No, I had the same thing.
Oh, maybe it was other
different
incarnation
lives
of the doctor that once did that, which I thought was really cool. I think it was just a fun idea that they're starting to introduce that here, if that's what they're actually trying to do and not just me reading into it.
No, I think you're right. I mean, at least that was the impression I got.
Yeah.
That there's so much more to him and so many more timelines, or years at least. Well, and that's the way it is with the show, right? I mean, Hartnell in An Earthly Child has already been traveling before Earth as well. We don't know for how long.
At that point, no.
So it certainly could have been, earlier in his life, and now he's two bodies away. But yeah, I agree with you. It felt like, this is like, who knows how many other forms this doctor has taken.
So speaking of the doctor, tell me what you thought about
Phantom Piper.
Tell me what you thought about the Troughton's portrayal in this one.
He was good. I think he was good. I didn't have any issues with him. I actually really liked his, pretending he knew what he was doing, and then telling Polly on the side, I got no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
But we got to buy some more time. So he was cool, and that he didn't really do any of the whiny stuff that always sort of detracts, I think, from
your enjoyment. Yeah.
Or for me, my own personal thing. I'm like, okay, we're ready.
Right.
But no, I thought he was great. I liked his whole portrayal.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I enjoyed it very much too. I thought it was fun and light without being silly. Competent without being the first doctor could be very hyper competent, or at least very self-assured, to the point where he's just mean to other people because he's so focused on what he's doing. He had none of that. So it was, I think, a really good blend of this between the first doctor and where the second doctor's persona ends up later. It felt like a transition period, and it actually felt like a sweet spot to me. Maybe it could have been a little. Maybe the story is a little bit more of a tense story, so it didn't really warrant a lot of the humor that he later brings to it.
Yeah, the levity and stuff doesn't, like, his mischievous nature and the whistle, like the more the clowny
without being
stuff.
overly campy and silly though. Like, it was good. I really enjoyed
his
it.
recorder.
He also, for whatever reason, looked so much younger in this story than I've seen than
the last one,
than other times that we've seen him, which are obviously the much later stories, but it's only a couple of years difference.
It's because he was animated.
Oh, is that what it is? It looks so smooth. I couldn't even see his pores. No, Troughton was 47 at the time of making this.
Really?
That is a hard 47, I will say. It's a difficult 47. But no, I think he looks younger and more refreshed. I guess that playing this role takes it out of you. But anyway, yes.
Well, this is only his third story.
It's somewhere around. People are screaming at their computer machines.
I don't remember. 10th Planet was his first one, right?
This is the fourth full one. He appeared in the 10th Planet. Then there's Power of the Daleks, The Highlander, Underwater
Menace, so this is like
Moonbase.
the 5th.
So yeah, this
fourth
is the
or fifth?
fourth full one, fifth appearance, which is great. Thank you, Internet. So that was cool. So they got Jamie 2 episodes prior to this. Anyway, so we got all that. The Cyberman's voice. It doesn't have the sing-songiness that we saw in the.
No, it's better.
So much.
It's
better.
creepier too.
It sounds to me.
I feel like it's
very
creepier.
much,
it's more threatening.
I found
more
it
interesting.
very hard to understand, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit.
The sing-songiness was annoying, but easier to understand. This was just scarier, but harder. It sounded like those old voice boxes for people with tracheotomies that you just hold up to. That's just all it sounded like. So there was no inflection. Some of the enunciation, some letters didn't really. I couldn't hear G's or something. Like, there's some things were hard to understand, so I had to read the transcript at the same time for some of it. But anyway, I thought it was really good. Thank goodness for getting rid of that voice from before. It was kind of interesting in the 10th Planet, but it got grating really quickly. This just worked a lot better to me.
It was good. I agree.
So Polly saves the day, even though it's they say it's man's work, and she says, I'm not going to listen to you, and just decides to help him anyway. But she puts together what some of our listeners have called the Polly cocktail. They realize, hey, this unit on their chest is all of their internal organs that have been replaced on the outside. And it's not metal, it's some sort of plastic. And Polly just happened to be doing her nails. She was checking her nails.
Right, it's just yeah, exactly.
I know what's going on here. So she's going to use nail polish remover on them. They don't know if it's going to be the right type, so they just take every solvent they have and put them together. Kids,
just give me some
here's what you should do.
acetone.
Here's a fun rainy day activity, kids. Go underneath your sink, find every cleaner you have, and put them into
Just
a
mix
jar.
them.
Just mix them together.
Yeah.
Do
It's
it
awesome. It makes you feel great.
Do it in a really enclosed space when your parents aren't home. Don't do any of that. That was terrible. It's just, what are they doing? They're putting together every solvent they can find. It's like, it's going to be okay. We'll just put it into this little spray bottle, and we shouldn't have a problem. But Polly saves the day. They got the Polly cocktail.
She saved it. She figured it out. She also, gave people sugar, but she didn't know.
Well, she didn't know until
she didn't know that sugar
the doctor
was poison.
Smacks it out of the commander's head, which was pretty crazy. He's about to drink it, just like whack right away. Pretty fun. So they do that thing where the doctor makes these crazy intuitive leaps that are not at all justified to the audience. Somehow he just put the pieces together in that moment. There's some people take sugar and some don't, and but it was fun. It was a interesting.
It was enough because they had at least shown he checked everything and was clean. I've looked under the couch cushions. I've tested everything, and there was nothing left.
Nothing.
But he didn't test any of the food, I guess, or any of that stuff. And then
it was funny. The
clearly it was bad sugar.
They tunneled into
How'd they get the bad sugar? Did I miss that part? So they had that.
The Cybermans tunneled into the base and broke through a wall that was in the storeroom. And they didn't... The way they said it was weird. It was almost as though they coincidentally... This is not the case. It can't be the case. But almost as though they coincidentally contaminated the sugar. It was like... We broke in through your storeroom and I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They broke into the storeroom, had a big hole there that they then contaminated the sugar with a virus that allows them to then control humans
Control.
remotely with their sonic. It was a sonic control of some sort, which is fun.
But it's an idea that they run with, like Cybermen controlling humans.
Yeah.
Would
without them
become
being
a thing.
fully.
Well, that's a thing for
converted.
so many of these things.
Yeah, but without them.
I mean,
being
how
actually
many?
converted, which is,
Right. How many of these Doctor Who villains can't control a person?
Yeah, they can all control people now.
Right. Big fear of getting
Mind controlled.
Daleks have done it. The Master loves
Master,
to
all
do
this,
it.
It's his favorite thing.
That's his.
It's his jam.
Or make you tiny.
Just
It'll make you tiny.
Frico. So they got the gravitron. It's the Cybermen want to destroy the Earth by wrecking their gravitron control, and it's going to cause all the storms to go crazy and flood places. And apparently, there's tight geopolitics going on where it took a lot of negotiation to figure out what the weather patterns would be. So things just go all kablooey all over the place. But it ends up they are able to use the gravitron on the moon to then attack the Cybermen who are trying to break in. They had hordes of Cybermen coming at them. They had reinforcements flying in. Okay, this was not great. The flying saucers that come in, which just look like your traditional flying saucers. There's no real special design to it. It just looks like your stereotypical flying saucer.
Cyber ships.
Flying in on clearly visible wires on those models. Mm-hmm. I liked a lot of the model work. I tend to think like in this era it works very effectively. The black and white and the low quality of the film helps sell it. But in this case, every time you saw a cyber ship flying in, you saw the wires it was coming in on. So that would have been a nice, would have been better for the animation, I think. But yeah, so they use the gravitron beam. They're able to angle it back towards the surface of the moon, and they zap all of the Cybermen and their vehicles, and they go floating off into space with the silliest little sound effect.
Very sad.
What did you think of
sad.
This as an ending to the story?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Because they had
it was
this tension of like, well, we can't get it to work because the angle won't work. So there's this like 3 or 4 minutes of like we can't get it to work where they just had to like flip a switch. It was this weird
right.
little
Well,
speed
then
bump of
there's
tension
also the
happening.
part like where they're controlling the guy, and then he's in the room, and he's deflected the the human ship, and that's
Right.
going to go towards the sun.
Oh,
right.
by the
There was
way,
that whole
those poor people.
part.
They're like, it could take them weeks to get to the sun, but there's
Yeah.
nothing. They know they're gonna die for like a week solid. Like there's nothing.
Yeah, it's awful.
Horrible. Really, really bad. Anyway, there's just a weird thing for them to just be like, all right, those guys are gone now, and don't make reference to it again. Like we're not gonna try to rescue them.
I
We're
was
not
going to
use
say
the
like
gravitron to
there's
pull them
no
back.
like we can't fly the TARDIS into the ship and then take them. I guess at that we don't have control of the TARDIS, right? So it's not like
they, later.
at this point in the story,
Right.
But yeah, that's sort of just like okay, they're all dead.
They're all dead now. Those people.
But the ending was fine, and again, like all of these earlier things were immediately into the next thing that's going to happen for our next episode.
Right. Well, there you go.
But it was cool. I mean, I what were you going to say about the floating away bit?
Oh, just that it was just incredibly silly looking. I mean, I'm really glad that we got to see an actual filmed version instead of the animation for that. Because if it was the animation, it'd be like, oh, those animators were just freaking lazy. That was just dumb. But no, that's how it really was.
That's how it was.
That was the effect.
Right. Well, the people want to get to the giant claw hand. I mean, that's where the money shot is. That claw coming. I don't know. That seems like it should be the Underwater Menace, but I don't know what's the next story that's going to have a giant crab claw.
The mascara terror.
All right.
The
Well, that
macra
sounds
terror.
all right.
Are we doing that one? Eric,
boys.
Eric, what are we doing? Well, we'll save this. We'll save this. Eric, do you have anything else to talk about? Or you want to hear what people thought about?
Well, I'll tell you this. I could tell you this with utmost certainty. We're not doing the mascara terror.
Okay, cool.
Because that one is completely missing.
No, thank you.
From what I know.
Thanks.
It's kind of a weird order, but people wanted us to do the Underwater Menace, which takes place before this one.
Uh-oh.
Which is half missing. So I'm assuming that means 2 exist and 2 don't.
Unless it's a 12-parter.
Based on my knowledge of the word half.
Okay, it is a 4-parter, so that's not so bad. Yeah.
So I don't know if we're doing that one, which is weird. Why didn't we do that one and then do Moonbase? But
because
that's on us.
we do not plan anything well.
Yeah, we don't plan.
I'd be happy
so
to do it. Let's see if we can get a legitimate copy of that, and we'll do it. Why not, man?
All right, if we can find that, we'll do it. And I think that would be it, right? I don't think there's any more that exist that aren't more than halfway animated.
That are less than
so
halfway animated.
If there are,
yes.
yeah, if there are, let us know. We'll do our best to do Underwater Menace.
If someone can help us out with that, if not, then we'll let you guys know, and we'll plan to do the Cushing film, and we'll do a live.
We'll find it.
Super show.
Yeah, as great as Macra Terror is, I don't want to do it because it's completely missing according to Wikipedia. That's no fun, and there's like some other ones. Did people say to do? They wanted us to do. What's the one that the Sea Devils? Did we do it, or is that one of the ones that people want us to do? Don't make me go look for my tweet again where I put all the names down.
Find your tweet.
Find your tweet.
We did do the Sea Devils. That was episode 107.
Oh, we did it already.
That was a long time ago. Jesus, that was like.
There was one of them that's like the Sea. There's one of them like the Sea Devils that people wanted us to do. The Sea News.
The Sea News. Sea Dudes.
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll figure out how to do whatever. And
that's our promise to you, listeners. We'll figure out how to.
We'll do at least one more. Hopefully within that time, you'll all have watched Suspiria. You can write in. We can talk about it.
We'll do a Suspiria podcast.
Yeah, I'm currently watching Inferno, which is the follow-up, sort of, in ways. It's part of the Mother trilogy. I'll let you all know what I think of that one next time. But I know we had a number of people that wrote in, Dan, right? With all sorts of commentary on this episode. You're watching the Moonbase.
Tom Hanks movie Inferno? Is that what you're...
No. This is this is another Dario Argento movie.
Oh, I see.
Not the Tom Hanks movie. Is there a Tom Hanks movie Inferno? I bet there is, but it's not that one.
It was I think Ron Howard thingy, Angels, Demons.
Are you thinking of Bonfire of the Vanities?
No, I'm not thinking of Bonfire of the Vanities.
Okay. Not Backdraft. So Ron Howard did a Backdraft and an Inferno?
That man he's got a thing for fire.
Ice Warriors. That's the thing that I was thinking of. Yes. That's the one people wanted us to do.
That's the one no one's doing.
I believe the Ice Warriors is 6 parts, but I think more than half of it is missing, maybe? I don't know. We'll look into that one. Maybe that one we'll do, as long as it's at least,
at least half real.
Complete.
Yes. Less than half or less animated. Okay, folks.
Oh, I just looked it up. Episode 2 and 3 are missing. So you have 1, 4, 5, and 6.
Whoa, 6-parter. I didn't sign up for this.
Sorry to break that to you.
No, thank you. Okay.
But I feel like the Ice Warriors is like... I don't know. You always hear about the Ice Warriors,
it as well.
Right?
We should do it. If we can
Probably
get our hands on it, we'll do it. If we can't, we'll just end it all. Eric, this episode got a lot of reaction on the old Twitter machine.
And you were saying it got more reaction than usual, right?
Much more. So this one, I mean, it could have been, we got someone just retweeted it that other people found it a lot easier, but that's how the algorithm works. But or people just really had strong feelings about it. But generally, this is a well-regarded story. So Eric, listener Lucy McCall says, I really liked it. The Cybermen are creepy, and so is their virus. Mm-hmm. Finding out how it got there and who will be next is a good part of the mystery. Good moments for Polly inventing her anti-Cyberman cocktail, and I love the invasion music. The Doctor has to work a bit to persuade the base people, as does Polly, but the team working together to save the day is really good. Also love the tea tray moment. So that's when the Cybermen kind of broke the seal on the base, and they tried to use a wadded up shirt to stop the vacuum, and that gets sucked out. The tea tray did the job. So good job, Polly.
That is excellent commentary too. I agree with everything said there.
Totally. Mester the Magnificent says the best 60s Cybermen story, bar none, often overshadowed by the inferior Tomb and Invasion. Okay.
Now I like Tomb of the Cybermen a lot.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know if I would say that was inferior to this.
But it is
Tomb. I felt like it had more of that mythology, and the sets were more interesting. Like, the sets in this, because we're stuck in the Moonbase, were a bit boring.
But purposeful, because it was
that
claustrophobic.
tomb was very cool.
So you
Yes,
have the void of space on the outside, and you have the tight confines on the inside. I think it worked for the story, but yes, it wasn't as interesting visually. I think Tomb of the Cybermen, even from the beginning of when we started the show, it's like, oh, I know of that. I've heard of that one before.
That
Invasion
was
of the Cybermen also,
we did that. That was one of the earliest ones we ever reviewed.
It really was. Way back. But this one, I like better than the others as well. So anyway, Mester goes on to say, claustrophobic, eerie, and featuring the best Cybermen voices without that stupid burbling that makes parts of Tomb unwatchable. I would also say that makes Invasion.
I can't remember Tomb other than the set design.
Yeah, same here. We record it, then forget it. And then Mester says, Troughton is perfect in this and loved it. Wandering Tiger says, this is my favorite, which is great. I don't know, favorite of all time? Favorite Cyberman story? That's a
favorite Patrick Troughton story? We don't know.
In reply to these other ones, I think it was the favorite Cyberman story is what Wandering Tiger was saying there. So there's a little back and forth about people arguing about which is the best of the Cyberman stories on that little thread. So thank you, folks, for having a little fun there. Scimitar Edge Publishing, says, I really like this one. It never drags, and Polly is a great asset to it. The crew are recognizably normal people dealing with extremes, but in a way that keeps their essential characters.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I take your point that we said before that Ben doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot going on there. He just seems like just a regular everyman guy.
Right. There's not much to him
in this story, anyway.
Whereas Jamie is such a strong person. I mean, maybe it's because I've spent so much more time with Jamie. He's a more interesting character. In this, he certainly, I would have said, is kind of boring because he's mostly in a bed. Talking about the Phantom Piper. We didn't talk about the Phantom Piper.
The Phantom Piper.
Enough. Like, does the Phantom Piper ever come back? Do they ever go to a planet of dreams in which the Phantom Piper becomes, made real?
Corporeal?
I don't know. Is the Phantom Piper an actual alien that was in the Highlander or whatever was it?
Right,
the Highlander film?
There could be only one.
Film? Yeah, and then Jamie has to cut off the head of the Phantom Piper.
He gets the quickening
power.
The lightning goes right into Jamie, and his kilt goes flying.
And then the guy comes in and just looks at Jamie and goes, "It was your woman." And then they fight on top of the silver cup.
That's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories that you just described. I love that one.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, going back to Twitter, Cliff, any voice work going. Cliff Chapman says, that's a fun Twitter handle. Really, really, really good and a bit underrated, weirdly. The animation is the nearest we've got to being close enough to imagine the 2 episodes are back. I think Eric would beg to differ, but I liked it a lot. The base crew are likable, and as usual, the Cybermen's plan might seem a little convoluted, but as horror, it works well. The base crew being likable, I think that was kind of your point, too, at the beginning, Eric, is like, we didn't have the whole, like...
I didn't think they had much of a personality, the base.
But they weren't... It wasn't, like, intense...
Except for the French... I guess you brought up, like, the French character, and then... But then that's defined by their otherness, is, like, there's no, like... I don't know. There was no personality...
No, not really.
Any of them.
No, but they weren't doing that whole, like, spending 2 episodes fighting back and forth about you're really the bad guy, blah, blah. Like, in the 10th Planet, in the last one we did with the
right.
commander.
It's a little bit in the beginning, and then there's a bit about, at one point he's like, get off my moon base.
Right.
And he's
it
like,
all happened.
I figured it out. That kind of thing. But,
right. But it was fun. Ed Watkinson says, I love the Target novelization, but the TV version just didn't measure up to it. Always read the book, folks. Let's see. I just clicked to the wrong thing, so that's gone. There we go. Deb Jones says, love it. 2 of my favorite speeches in all of Doctor Who. The there is evil speech and have you searched in here? Oh, yeah. So the moment when they search, they're like, we searched the entire base. We can't figure out where it's coming from, where they could possibly be. And the doctor's like, did you search in this room that we're in right now? And they're like, well, no, because there's always people in here, so I don't think they probably didn't. And then they realize there's a Cyberman hiding under a blanket. It was the weirdest little cliffhanger between episode 2 and 3, where there's a big silver boot sticking out underneath a blanket, and it's like, oh, the Cyberman was in here all along. It was campy fun, but it was done well. Anyway, that was great. Debs goes on to say, Polly was great, even though Jamie was an add-on. This is probably the most effective use of his background. The Phantom Piper made the Cybermen even more scary. Yeah, when Jamie wakes up and sees a Cyberman there and thinks it's the Angel of Death in front of him, poor guy. The stylish one says, the build-up to the Cybermen is done brilliantly, and when they arrive, they're an intimidating presence and large in scale. Troughton also really begins to hone in on not only his incarnation of the Doctor, but also the Doctor as a whole with his plans and speeches. I think we covered that, so we're pretty close to an agreement there. Darren Lodge says, an underrated classic, a Moonbase under siege, a mystery, disease, Cybermen, the Gravitron, and the Doctor getting in the Moonbase personnel's way. And being swore at in French. What's not to like? Oh, that moment when he's going around like trying to examine everything, is like grabbing people's shoes and whatever. That was a good.
That was
silly
I guess there are more of those moments than maybe I realized of
because they're
comedy.
Not distracting. They're not like they're not over the top and like ooh, but everything. Blah. That part that you really don't like about some of his later performances. It was just it was fun. Count Wibbly, hey, we have royalty. Count Wibbly says, it's great, but at the same time, not great. Okay. A very rough script, often dull direction and tatty visuals, but it's still very entertaining. Example, it swings from the darkest corners of the universe speech to, well, that's the Cybermen taken care of. Yeah, I mean, once they like zap them off the moon, it's like, all right, I guess that's over. We'll never see them again.
Right.
Kind of silly. But it was fun. Thank you for that. Dave Javu says, I like that. Sorry, that got me. Dave Javu says, I reread The 10th Planet and this last year, first time since childhood, and found this a far more tightly plotted read, a more logical plan than their predecessors that actually makes sense this time too.
All right, so he's talking about the novelization, right?
I guess maybe there's more in the novelization than we see in this because I don't get, but it was fine. At least it wasn't convoluted. It was straightforward, but we don't know why they were doing it. Scripted with drama, atmosphere, and scares in mind, effectively directed too. It goes on to say, good point about the animation. This really should have been the benchmark for future releases. Let's see. Michael says that they're rewatching a bunch of these stories and hasn't gotten there yet, but essentially it's like the 10th Planet reads Hold, but it's utterly memorable and may even be better. Troughton comes into his own as the Doctor here. Everyone's kind of on the same page with Troughton's performance here.
Yeah,
boy,
I
told you
it was much better than the 10th Planet.
I totally agree. There are a lot of responses here. Okay. Jason, a brand new Troughton, gone are the costumes and comedy accents. This is the new Doctor, silent and enigmatic until he takes over by force of will. Polly has a great role, and the novelization is one of the very best. People love the novelization. David Spooner says, love a Polly cocktail. So that's awesome. JWC Review says, sorry, I can't agree. Tomb is probably the greatest of all Cybermen stories and possibly Troughton's greatest outing. The Moonbase is a great story, but it's not complete, unlike Tomb, which arguably has better characters. Only Troughton had a good Cybermen stories during his tenure. Should we go back and rewatch? I'm just kidding. Paul Butler says, fab story, some of the best animation of a missing adventure, real behind the sofa stuff, the creepy corridors and the dimly lit rooms and everything was pretty great. Lee Moon says, sorry, I can't agree with you. Oh, okay. This is the back and forth about which of the Cybermen stories is the best. So there's a little bit of back and forth there, which is kind of fun to watch. Let's see. Maester comes back again and says, as mentioned by another contributor to this conversation, the animated reconstructions are superb and capture the mood and style of the surviving episodes more successfully than other reconstructions. When I watch the Moonbase, it feels like I'm watching the complete original. Eric, you agreed 100% with that, right?
I mean, I don't have any issue with the animation per se. I just don't think it has the charm or the emoting that comes from a human acting performance. Right?
Yeah, animation technology just isn't there yet. Misfit Scully says, love the Moonbase.
Animation technology.
I'm just saying, until we get deep fakes animation, it's gonna be a while. Misfit Scully says, love the Moonbase. Kirby wire spacewalks really are good.
Mm-hmm.
Spacesuits admittedly could have used some work. To save costs, they build one main set for the Moonbase with smaller individual sets inside it. The set design was really good throughout. The Cybermen redesign is the start of the look that we know and love today. The script, well, no, I don't know if we love it, but it is definitely much more trending towards the modern ones. The script's written before it was decided that Jamie would stay, resulting in Fraser spending a lot of time in sickbay, sadly. Patrick Troughton
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Patrick Troughton is a good. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read it. So has a good guest cast. The animated constructions work well for me. Fingers crossed there'll be more in the future. I have seen clips of missing episodes where people have tested CGI and deepfake tech. There we go. It needs work, but one day more whole episodes could be produced that way. It makes me very excited. That would be pretty interesting. So glad you did this. Love the pod. Really hope you'll be able to do more incomplete stories. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, Miss Fiscully, whose name is Dana. Thank you, Dana. Paul Paranoid says, "Dear guys, out of interest, this is the second Cyberman story, so we are literally seeing the design evolve sequentially this time. I suspect the 10th Planet costumes were deemed just too awkward for moving around. Fan lore is that the Mondasians, I'm going to say it, whatever. The folks from Mondus were scientists, and these are the astronauts." Sure, but headcanon's fun. That's cool. Let's see. Hungry for Patrick Troughton, Doctor Who. All right. It all works for me. Aside from the tomb, these are my favorite iterations of the Cybermen. And yeah, I think that is. Last Taryn Woodby says, "Amazing story, love it, and the best animation of the entire range." Okay sign, thumbs up. Explosion.
All right.
So thank you for also indulging us, letting us read about a couple dozen tweets there. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on that and having some conversations about this story. Yeah, very informative, and I think we're all pretty much.
Next time, I guess we are set now. We've done a blood oath. I've cut myself, always in the palm, to do the Underwater Menace. So we got to figure out. Dan and I, it's on us to figure out Underwater Menace. So we'll see what happened just before what we just watched.
That'd be amazing. Let's just completely watch these in the wrong order because we can't plan for shit. Anyway, thank you.
Underwater Menace.
We did have an email, of course. Our friend Paul Paranoid says, "It's the moon, but it's all about the base. The base, it's all about that base." Okay. It's been 8 years, 145 episodes. What a story to go out on. The moon is rendered in glorious black and white. A lunar base, surprisingly agile Cyberman when getting off a gurney. When he popped off and pulled the blanket away, like he literally almost fell or knocked that gurney over. But they kept going because they're professionals. It's also technically the first Doctor Who story to feature the Cyberman design we're most familiar with, albeit with handy built-in pit helmets. And in no way contradicts the story that REM were right. There really is nothing to see up there. I see. It's a Man on the Moon reference. Gotcha. All around, fabulous addition to season 4. Also a great way to end the Doctor Who stories. Shows glorious 8-year run. But of course, we're going to keep going as long as we can get our hands on the next story we're going to do. So again, thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your responses.
Thank you all.
Appreciate that. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Twitter at TODW Show, also on Instagram at the same. You can send us an email at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com, and you can visit our site, theolddoctorwhoshow.com, to see all of the stories. Lots of stuff there in the back catalog. So get on that. Eric, anything else? Are we done?
No, I think we're done, Dan. We got to go find those underwater episodes and get to watching.
Sounds good.
We'll see everybody in 3 weeks.
See you soon.
Yay. Bye. So my stupid thing switched back to my camera on its own.
Yeah, I noticed.
It stopped my recording. So, but I did, as a failsafe, also did a video recording of this. So I have to do so much editing. I have to take that audio until it stops and then switch to the video, it's going to be a different quality.
I noticed that your video went out, so I didn't actually throw to you for anything because I wasn't sure if you were actually even still there. So I don't think you really missed much of anything.
Okay.
So yeah, it seemed like it was all right.
All right.
I'm going to export this. Thanks, buddy. Hope it works out. Whatever. All right.
Where's my robot? You know?